all the students of EC and Triple E. So I'm expecting you all know the fundamentals of Java programming, and you must know how to take the input from console. So as Malleswari madam, I think explained all the things. Again, if you want, I will explain those things fastly, and then I go for the next topic. Just I cover the basic topics like a review once again. So as Java uses both compiler and interpreter, Java C is the compiler for Java. Java is the interpreter for Java. So we can write our Java program anywhere. You can take a notepad also, a basic notepad you can take. Here you can write your sample program. I just write a sample program, how to write a sample Java program. So class, initially we have to take a class with some name. So let us say demo. So prefer the class name should begin with a capital letter. Don't think what happens if I violate the rule. So public static void main. I'll explain and analyze the parts of a basic Java program. String. And maintain the indentation also. So simple Java program. System.out.println. Hello, good morning. Okay. So I have to save this program. You know, a basic Java program, an extension. So let us say demo.java. .java is the extension for your Java program. Okay, I saved it. So I'm open through command prompt. Anywhere you can store your program. Here I am stored in this folder. Let us say. So first of all, I have to check whether Java is working or not. So for that, we have to type and press enter. Java C. Java C. If Java C is working, means your Java programming is software is working properly. Okay. So for clear screen, you can use CLS. So first of all, I have to compile my program. Compilation of the Java program can be done with the help of compiler. As you know, there are two steps we have to use. The first step, we have to compile a Java program, because unlike any other programming languages, for example, if you take C, if you take a C program directly that after compilation, linking, execution there, okay, after compilation, your C source program will be directly converted into the machine equivalent code. But Java, the case is different. It is using both compiler as well as interpreter. Okay. So in the first step, the compilation, after successful compilation, your Java source program will be converted into an intermediate format, that is a bytecode. So that bytecode will be converted after successful compilation of your Java program. Means your .java file will then be converted into .class file. Please make a note whatever I am delivering, because everything is most important. I tell you more theoretical issues, including the programs also, because if you can remember those things, you will be very successful while you write the programs. So first of all, what I am doing, I am taking my Java compiler, that is Java C, to compile a Java program. Java C space, I have to write my Java program. What is my Java program? In this case, demo. Demo.java. So compilation procedure is Java C space file name. File name I have written. Press enter. So it contains no syntax error. No syntax error. My Java program is successfully compiled. So this successfully compiled Java program, where it is, where the class file will be stored. I already told you this compiled code. Compiled code is an intermediate form. This is not the object code. Please remember, this intermediate form will be stored in a I'll show you. So what is the program, sir? Demo.java. Demo.java. For this demo.java, demo.class is generated. This class is the class file. This is the binary file. This is the intermediate file. That is why this is also called bytecode. Okay, this is not your object code. This is the bytecode. Okay. So what is the reason why Java uses both compiler and interpreter? Can anybody ask me this question? If anyone asks you this question in the interview time, you can very clearly and clarity you can give the answer. Sir, Java having a feature called portability, platform independence and portability. Portability means you can take your program. Portability means easy to move. English meaning. So technical meaning is, if you write a program for one particular machine, you can take that program to any other machine. There you can successfully run and execute. So in general, platform independence leads to portability, but here the portability is properly providing by this dot class file. So you can take this dot class file to any other machine. There you can successfully run your Java program. There is a meaning of portability. So how you say, if anybody asks you what is meant by portability and how Java programs are portable, then you can very confidently give the answer. So once I compile a Java program, that successfully compiled Java program will be stored as dot class file. The dot class file is the bytecode. So I can take that dot class file to any other machine. There I can run and execute my program successfully. That leads to portability. Okay. So now let us see, compilation is over. So after compilation, successfully your Java program is so compiled, dot class file is created. Now what I have to do, next step, I have to interpret my Java program to run, execute and run my Java program. Execution for giving the input, and after taking the input, it has to produce the output. Okay. So for that, what I have to use is Java interpreter. Name of the Java interpreter. Please note, sir. Please make a note. Name of the Java compiler is Java C. Name of the Java interpreter is Java. Name of the Java interpreter is Java itself. Space. This time we should not give the class file name like demo.java. This time we have to give the class name, which class you want to execute. See here, this main method is contained in a class called demo. So this particular class I have to execute. So for that, I have to give the class name. So Java space demo. So this gives, after pressing enter, this gives the result as the output. Hello, good morning. Okay. I think you all know this, but I have to explain in order to get the clarity, and for the remembrance purpose also I am giving this clarity. Okay. See, now I just analyze this code. What is exactly in this code? So for writing any Java program, the basic structure one should understand. If any packages are required in a Java library, because Java is a vast, Java has a vast library, unlike your C. Okay, C has also a library, but Java contains much more libraries, more number of libraries. So if you want to utilize any particular library utility or any particular resource from your Java library or Java API, Java library is also called API, application program interface, where all the resources of Java are available. So for that, what we have to do is we have to import the corresponding packages. If any Java packages are like this, Java dot, it can be Java dot lang dot star art, it can be Java dot io, or it can be Java dot SQL, Java dot util, whatever. If whatever the package you want, that package you have to import. However, you included in your C header files you have included in your C program. Hash include, you write something stdio.h, conio.h, like that. Here you need not include, but you have to import the corresponding packages, whichever you want. The package can be a library package or a package which is created by you. Okay, so this is a sample basic Java program. You see this program, as I already told you, class. You have to define at least one class. Without a class, you can't write a Java program. That is Pakka. Okay, so the class name. What should be used for class name? The class name should be a valid identifier. I think you all know the rules for defining identifiers. Identifiers can be used for naming the classes, naming the variables, naming the functions, naming the arrays. Anywhere, when you want to name something, you must use the identifier. Identifier means some name, user defined name, anything. It should be a valid. So please remember, sir, I tell you some tricks while you defining the methods or while you defining the classes. Please remember, you should follow the valid syntax and valid name rules for using the names. For example, classes, the class name should begin with capital. What happens if I don't use it? Nothing happens, but the formality and the punctuality should be used, because all the library classes will have they start with a capital letter, whatever the class you take. Okay, so class is demo here. Inside this is a very basic Java program. A very basic Java program contains a simple class with a method, main method. However, you used your main in your C. Here also main method you can use. This is the trigger. This is the starting point. Somewhere in general the execution can begin from the environment. If you run your Java program, Java space the demo, so the demo that invokes that environment invokes this main method. So what is the structure of this main method? What it contains? So please see this public static void main. I tell you each and every keyword. Void means everybody knows, I think. A method, if you write a method, the method is returning something. You have to write the corresponding data type. Suppose if a method or function, sir, in your C use the term function, but in Java you have to use the word method. I tell you the difference. Similar, but a small difference. Okay. So void means if your method or function is not returning anything, if you do not wish to return anything from your method to the outside callers or outside environment, then use void. Void means your function does not returning anything. This is the basic structure. Okay. Next, static. I will tell you the static need again. Here briefly I tell you. Static means if you want to use this particular class variable, any variable, you have to create an object, and then you can use this main method. But if you use static, you need not create object for this class. Directly you can use this main method with the class name demo. Means static members are in general common to all the objects for this demo class, irrespective of the object, irrespective of the instance. For any instance, for all the instances, static members are common. Okay, so such a method is main, void, static, and then last is public. Public static void main. Public means, sir, you see, Java is a secure language. You can protect the members of a class from the access of outside environment. Means, if I want to make a particular method as private, I can make it private. If I want to make it public, as public. Public means a public member is visible to all. Visible to all. Suppose if your program contains more than one class, so this particular main method can be accessible anywhere because it is visible to all. So public members are available to all the resources. This is the meaning of public static void main. Okay. So string arg, what does it mean? Sir, in general, while you run or execute your program, you see this command prompt. From here, you have to supply the input. Supply the input. So this program doesn't require any input. So, okay, if your program contains any input in general, the inputs are given as string of arguments, string array of arguments. So for this array purpose, we use this symbol string array. string array of arguments. String array of arguments. As many you give, 2, 1, 3. Okay, one after another will be given by separating them with spaces. I will show you. So that is why we write it as string args or arg. Or this can be anything. It can be a also. Why we are writing arg or args means so that we never commit for mistakes, because we take generally a, b, c as variables. If you write arg or args, there is no chance of encountering for the same variable at anywhere in the program. So it is better to write either arg or args. Anything can be accepted. That is no problem. Okay, this is the meaning of public static void main. So your main method does not return anything. Static means this main is common to, this member is common to all the objects. So public means it is visible to all. Anybody, anywhere, you can use this main method. So now coming to body. So you know any function or method contains in general body. Body means some executable statement, whatever you write. So in your C programming, you use this particular method, printf. So in Java, the method is print or println. Okay, printf is also there. I tell you later if you want separately. So as of now, we need print or println. So in Java is the object-oriented programming. Java is the object-oriented programming language. So anything can be accessed with their class and object, class name or object name, with this dot operator. Dot is the member access operator. So what does it mean? System.out.println means what? This system in general, the system is the class. Out is a member of that system. System.out in general refers, this is the standard output stream. Standard output stream. So from this standard output stream is connected to this particular screen. This is the output screen. Okay, where you want to use the output. So two things we have to remember. One is we have to take the input from the console. So console means keyboard in general, console devices. Okay, so output, console output device is in general screen, where you display this and the output. Where you want to get the output here. So this is the console output device. So that console output device should connect with this stream. System.out refers the standard output stream. System.out refers the standard output stream. System.in is standard input stream. System.out is standard output stream. Remember. Okay. So whatever you write inside this double quotes and double quotations comes under a string. This is the text. Hello, good morning is the text. So this text will be sent to the console output device. If I run this program, the output hello, good morning will be printed. Okay. Suppose I think you are all aware of data types. Suppose if I take two variables, let us say, sir, in Java, another flexibility, please remember. So in your C, according to your C, because you have learned C95 version, so there the variable should declare first, and then we have to use. First one, we have to declare the variables, and then only we have to use the variable. In Java, that requirement is not needed. Anywhere you can declare the variable, but just before using it. Okay. So if I am writing for loop, I want I variable. If I need to, shall I need to create or declare variable I in advance? Not needed. Within the for loop you can declare. In the for loop you can declare. So now see A, B, S are the three variables. Now I am talking about inputting. So inputting in Java, inputting means taking the input from the console can be done different manners. I tell you two things. First of all, A. Okay. First one is using command line arguments. Input taking from the command line arguments. Command line arguments means from here. So here I am writing the Java space demo. Then I have to give the values also. Values as command line arguments. This is the command line command prompt. From here I am passing the arguments to whom? Main method. That is why string args you are writing. So those arguments or those values can be taken as string of array of string arguments. Okay. So those string arguments you must convert into the corresponding types to which you have declared. you have declared in integers. So you have to take them as integers. For that, you have to write this parseInt method. ParseInt integer dot parseInt. If you suppose use float, float dot parse float. If you use a double, parse dot double, because initially those are strings. Then only they will be converted once you write this method. So how I am taking a, so whatever the first argument I am giving args of 0, whatever the first value I give, that first value as a string, that string is now converting into the corresponding integer type. So now a equal to integer dot parseInt means whatever the first argument I am supplying from the command prompt, that argument will be taken as a integer value. So now an integer value will be stored in a. Similarly b. Sir, what I have to use? Only input variables I have to read. You need not read the output variables. So B also. So A and B. So what is the args of 1? This is because 0 args of 0 first value is stored in A, second value as an integer will be stored in B. Okay. So now S equal to, for example, A plus B. A plus B. Now if I want the result, so what should I do? I have to print the value. Suppose if I want to display some text like sum equal to, okay, close it. So in C, you have used comma as the concatenation operator in printf. In printf, you write like this: printf in printf in C. I'm telling about C. And you write like this: percentage %d. After closing this, let us type the variable. This is how you have printed. But in Java, comma is not the concatenation operator. String concatenation operator is plus. Remember. Whatever I am enclosing within double quotes, that will be a string. After that, I have to write place the plus mark. That plus is representing as a, this plus is a string concatenation operator. Remember, concatenation operator is a string concatenating operator. That is why I used plus. Here I have to write the variable name. What is the variable name, sir? What is the output variable? Yes, because you have stored the result of A plus B in S. Let us see. This is one way of taking the input. Okay. So I should not press enter, because if I press enter, I have to give two inputs as arguments, because you are expecting here. You are expecting two arguments and then you are converting them into integers. But if you, without giving the arguments, suppose if I give only one argument, or no, none I have given. Now, first of all, if any changes occurs to your program, first you must compile it. Then only the corresponding class file will be loaded. Class file should be loaded in order to run your program. So now what I have to do, I have to give a space and give two inputs. For example, 25 and 89, two inputs. Then only I need to press enter. Now it is giving the correct output. S equal to A plus B is happening. Okay. So if I have given by mistake only one, or I have not given anything, just I press enter. In this case, your Java is a wonderful system. Java performs a wonderful mechanism, that is exception handling mechanism. Exception handling mechanism. With this exception handling mechanism, if you commit for any runtime problems, any runtime issues, it prompts you so and so problem occurred. The problem is called exception. So and so situation arised. The situation here is java.lang.array index out of bounds exception. Here you have to give two inputs, but you have given 0 inputs. That is why it is produced. Suppose to run again, if I give only one input, press enter, that is also problem. How many inputs you have to give? 2, because you have written two statements. See, A and B. Okay, sir, these things should be very, very clear. Unless you will face problems. If I give two inputs successfully, then problems will not be there. Okay, next. So there is a second way of taking inputs, that is using a scanner class. The scanner class, you can use the scanner class methods to take the input. This is also very flexible. This is also very flexible. For this, I have to import a package called, if you want to use a scanner class, you have to import the corresponding package java.util package. Java.util package. First of all, you must import this package. Then only the corresponding resource will be useful. Okay. So what I have to do is, I already told you, if anything you want to use in Java, you can't directly use them. Okay, you must use the corresponding class or object. If it is a static member, you can use class directly, class name directly. If it is a non-static member, you have to create an object. So object creation, everything I tell you, sir. Here for the input purpose, you just see this scanner. For scanner, first of all, you have to create an object for scanner. So for this scanner object, what you have to connect is, from where you are getting the input, console, that is keyboard. So that console standard input stream you have to connect. Standard input stream is the keyboard, is nothing but your keyboard, because from keyboard you are giving the input. So system.in is nothing but standard input stream. Standard input stream you are connected. Standard input stream you have connected. Okay, this is how creating an object for scanner class. Okay. Then this system should not use. Okay. So now we can write the display the statements like however you have used in your C. System.out.println, because this is a useful and usual access for anyone, because, and it is a better way of displaying or prompting for the input. Enter, let us say A, for example, enter A. Then you write the statement A equal to, what is the scanner objects are FC. This is the scanner object dot, what type of input we are expecting, integer. So for that we have next int. Okay, so I will show you next methods are available for all types of variables. For integers, next int. For floating, next float. Double, next double. You see this document, just I have. See, for float, next dot float, next dot float. For double, next dot double, next double methods. So first see this integer, next int. Similarly, if you want to get the next output, next input, enter B after entering A. So what is the variable name? B. So A and B. So now everything is common, same. Again, we go for program, command prompt. What we have to do? Compile. Whenever you make a change to your program, you must remember, compile your Java program. Java demo. That's it. Class name. That's it. This time we can press enter. It asks you enter A. So I gave 55. Next it asking B. So 68. Press enter. Now it is giving the output. So this is the another way of inputting or taking the input from the console using scanner class. Most useful. Please remember scanner class. Okay. So with this, you can practice more programs. You can take control structures. You can have for all the students. I'm very clearly mentioning you must practice all the topics, including the basic exercise programs. Means the topics like using operator precedence, typecasting and type conversion, control structures with the different possibilities, different programs you can take. If you want, I will give you the list of programs I have. Some programs you can practice any basic programs like we have already habituated or know in Java, C, so basic programs so like Fibonacci sequence, prime number, palindrome, factorial, Armstrong number. Similarly for arrays, okay. So next I want to talk to you about type conversion. Anybody knows what is type conversion? Anyone can respond? Type conversion. Any one of you? Type conversion. Okay, I tell you. So type conversion in C or Java, whatever you take. So type conversion is a process of type conversion is a process of converting a variable from one data type to another. One data type to another. Smaller to larger or larger to smaller, because you know there are very familiar data types are available: integers, floating point values, double values, string based input, boolean values. So what is the extra thing you have learned in your Java? Boolean. So boolean takes two possible values, either true or false. Okay. So what is the default floating point data type in Java? Default. My question is, what is the default floating point data type in Java? Float or double? So answer to this question at the end. Okay. Anyhow, so type conversion is a process of changing or converting a variable from one data type to another data type. That is from integer to floating or floating to integer. Okay. So there are two types of conversions available in general. One is a narrow conversion and another is widening conversion. A smaller data type can be converted into a larger data type. Okay. For example, if you take an integer variable x, for example, 9, suppose if you want to convert this integer into float, what happens is it's simply converting it to 9. Okay, so it is no problem. Suppose if you perform the reverse, that is, if you want to convert a floating point variable or double variable into an integer, definitely the fractional part will be, definitely it will be, you lose that fraction part. So that will be truncated. So those things in general, practically, we should not do. So Java helps you or Java learns you. Definitely, you can learn from Java what are the things we can do, what are the things we should not do, because Java is not allowing such type of all types of type conversion. Okay, type conversion means it is automatic type conversion. So see here an integer is converting into a floating point value. This is automatic. So automatic type conversions are happening in many cases. If you write a mixed expression means, for example, if you perform, for example, float some s equal to x plus y, for example. So this is a mixed expression. Mixed expression means where an integer is there, a floating point variable is there, a double value may be there. So in general, if you take a mixed expression, there all the different types of variables or values are available. In such cases also automatic type conversion take place. Type conversion means by default it is automatic. By default it is automatic. Automatic type conversion can be performed by your system, the compiler, because the conversion automatically taken place. There is another term that is most important. Type casting. Type casting is nothing but explicit. It is explicitly performed. Explicit type casting. It is also called explicit type conversion. Means this type of conversion will be performed by the programmer by force. By force means you want some variable to convert from a particular data type to a particular data type. Suppose if you take a case, for example, you are calculating the average of student marks. In general, sum is available in integer. You want to convert the integer sum into the average, but so what is the formula you use? 6. You know, sum is an integer, 6 is an integer, 6 is an integer, 6 is an integer, average is a, for example, floating point variable. What happens? The result is a floating point variable, but it lodges the precision, means the output is like, let us say 97.0000, not exactly 97 point something else other than 000, because it is losing its truncation. Fractional part is missing from that result. So for that, what you generally do is you perform a typecast. Typecast means promoting this type of the result from one data type to another data type. Here, in general, if you want to make the sum to floating point, in general, you have to mention the corresponding data type before the variable name. Before the variable name. This is how we perform the typecasting. Typecasting means the conversion is taken place by the programmer himself or herself. Okay. So this is what explicit typecasting. I will tell you in detail about this at a later class. So these are the things. These are the basic things you have. And now I think you are all aware of all the other concepts, control structures, and arrays. Do you know how? What is the new control structure you have learned in Java? For each loop, for each. So the loop is for each. But the name is enhanced for loop. It is enhanced for loop. Enhanced for loop. It's also called for each loop. This is exclusively useful for the list of items, where we use list of items like arrays. For example, array. For example, like okay. In general, what we do is we write I equal to 0, I less than let us say a dot length. Like this we write in general. In general, we have to manually go through the each and every element. Suppose if I want to print, for example, system dot out dot print ln, how do I access a of I? This is how we write. So parallelly, with the help of for each, how do we write is, it is very simple, sir. For example, x in a, x in a, okay. Directly, if directly we can use the that system dot out dot println, that x you can print, because that x go through all the elements of your so see this for loop next index, go to the next index. Similarly, you are go through all the array elements till the end, because you have written a dot length, that is the length of the array. 0 to I less than a dot length means 0 to the last location. This is 0 to n minus 1, where n is the large size of maximum size of your array. So you have to go access the each individual element as a of I, where I from 0 to n minus 1. So, but in this case, you need not write like this. You are go through each and every element from beginning to ending. You simply use the variable name x. That's it. So this is the better way of using the for each loop in your arrays. Okay, now we go to the next. Sir, I hope you can practice all these things on your own. If you have any problems or any doubts, you can ask either madam or me or to anybody. Any you can phone me also. So, so our real class would like to object-oriented programming concepts. I don't know whether you know or not. I don't know. So the OOPS concepts are: one is object, another is abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism. Okay, these are the object. Next class. So these are the OOPS concepts. In addition to these, we can also add dynamic binding. So your program is an object entity. This is the basic definition. So from the technical point of view, an object can be defined as an instance of a class. An instance of a class. Know the difference between object and class. Okay, I'll tell you. First, know this definition: an instance of a class. Next, what is a class? Okay, in general, a class is a collection of similar objects. This is the basic high-level definition. The technical definition is a collection of members, includes methods, instance methods. The class contains instance methods. A class members can be variables, methods, and object definitions. Anything else can be included in a class definition. So, in general, a class represents, it is a blueprint. A class is a skeleton or a blueprint for what we going to develop. Remember, so if you want to create objects, a class must be existed. If you want to create an object, a class must be exist. Now, what is the difference between class and object? A class can contain any number of similar objects, any number of similar objects. I'll tell you a very simple example. A very simple example. To take a biscuit packet, for example, Good Day biscuit packet. For example, Good Day biscuit packet. So, having some a class is just a blueprint or a skeleton for what we are going to develop. A class just gives the information, means what are the variables, what are the methods defined by, contained by a class. The accessing can be done. Any number of objects can be contained for a class. Each individual object can contain its own information. No two objects of a class need not be same. For example, if you take a Good Day biscuit packet, for example, the Good Day biscuit packet is a class. What are the objects? The individual biscuits are the objects for the class where each individual object diskette contains its own can be its own values. Okay. For example, if you take a rectangle is a class. A rectangle is a class. So what can you represent for a rectangle? Rectangle contains width and height attributes. These two attributes can be represented as. So please remember, whenever you define a class, what are the attributes the class variable, and whatever the operations you want to perform with that class, the operations can be represented by method definition. Method definition. Method definition. So methods represent the behavior, means operations, whatever the operations perform. What are the operations you can perform with your rectangle, sir? What are the operations? Like I can calculate the area. Similarly, I can calculate the perimeter. So these things I represent as methods. The first two things, the width and length, can be represented as variables. So variables are the classes that can calculate the perimeter for a particular position will be. See, rectangle, double length, comma, width, or I can take them individually, double length, double width. Okay, these are the attributes. What are the operations I can represent? For example, void perimeter. Perimeter can be represented. This is one operation. Another operation is another method. That is, if I want to represent the area calculation, I use this. This is how, in general, a class definition will be performed. Okay. So one is class, the another is object. So for this class, I can create any number of objects. Perform interaction between classes to just I need object and class now. The next thing is abstraction. Abstraction means what? See, if you see anything in the real world can be described briefly. People are representing or identifying the essential features. Essential features. Essential features. Essential features means, if you take, for example, if you take about a mobile, if you go to a shop, what the shop person will tell you about a mobile? The features, like he just explained the features, like what is the brand, what is the model, what are the specifications of camera or Bluetooth or the other things, what is the Android version, okay, or what about front camera, the back camera, all the things. Abstract features. Abstract means identifying the. You can take another example, car, for example, car. So if you want to represent about a car as a engineer or as a person or as a programmer, what do you represent about a car? In general, the car model, the price of the car, or the other features, simple brief features will be explained, but need not explain about how the gear system works, how the engine system works, or the brakes are working, or how the internal circuitry is designed or fabricated. All the things need not, because those things nobody requires in an abstract manner. So that is the meaning of abstraction. So I tell you, Java you can perform this, achieve this abstraction through different concepts like abstract classes concept is there, interfaces concept is there, we cover there. So abstraction is a process of identifying the essential features of a class. Oops concept is of encapsulation. Encapsulation means wrapping up the data and methods. The single unit, the single unit is a class. In general, we represent anything in Java as a just tell you class. First of all, we have to create a class. So the class contains all these things. What are the code you want to write, like data, variables, methods, all these things will be represented inside a class. This encapsulation is also called information hiding. So this is an implementation of abstraction. This is also called information hiding. Hiding. Whatever you want to represent with whatever the essential things you want to represent, that we can achieve through this encapsulation. So whatever I want, I am representing means I am hiding the remaining things. So that is what information hiding. Else we can provide security. Okay. So this is abstraction and encapsulation. Both are interchangeable words. The implementation part of abstraction is encapsulation. So the next most important thing, most important OOPS concept is inheritance. Inheritance. I think this everybody. Inheritance means acquiring properties of a base class by its child classes. Okay. So acquiring the properties of a base class by its child classes. Inheritance means, sir, if you have created a parent class, the very first beginning class, that is the base class. So if the base class is contained some properties, if the same properties are need to be used by the children, if the children want to use the same properties in them, means I will tell you in the inheritance concepts. Suppose if you have a class A, for example, the class is contained area and perimeter. For example, that area and perimeter methods, if the child class wish to use, B, C, D are both the area and perimeter methods, which are they need not redefine. Means they need not give the method definitions. They just simply invoke them, use them. That's it. That is what acquiring. Acquiring means redefining, reusing the same component. Inheritance property leads to reusing the reusability of the component. The same component can be used by the child classes without redefining them. That is what inheritance. Inheritance in general in different forms. Single inheritance is there, multi-level inheritance is there, hybrid inheritance is there. So different forms of inheritance are available. Just a brief description only I am giving. So as of now, what are the OOPS concepts we learned? Object is an instance of a class. Class is a collection of similar objects. A class contains the methods and other members, instance variables, instance methods, and all these. And next, abstraction is a process of identifying the essential features of a class, and encapsulation is wrapping up. Wrapping up means combining up the data, and inheritance is a process of acquiring or reusing the properties which are defined by the parent class, by its child classes, without redefining them. Okay, most important, if one needs to learn the object-oriented programming, all these concepts should be learned very clearly. Inheritance. So the next thing is polymorphism. The next one things theoretical they you slowly. That is why I'm covering all these things. For learning all new to programming. Don't worry, problems you can contact me. Definitely, I will clear your doubts. But the requirement is patience and patient learning, listening. Polymorphism. The next thing is polymorphism. Polymorphism to have multiple forms, different forms, multiple or different forms means what? This is the most important feature. I will tell you this polymorphism in Java can occur in two manners. One is static polymorphism, another is dynamic polymorphism. I will tell you a very simple example. I use a method, I want to define a method with the name. What does it mean? Add means this method gives or double or anything else. What does it mean? I can use the means I can use the same name. So method add. So I have defined one method for integer method addition. I have same another method with the same name for performing addition of floating point integers. So similarly, I can use the same name, same the method name for the definition of a different method behavior. So same name is exhibiting different behavior. That is what ability to have multiple forms means. Polymorphism feature means same name or same feature can be used for different exhibiting different behaviors. That is what the polymorphic behavior. Okay. So these are the OOPS concepts. So now let us go class contains variables. Whatever the variables contained in the class. Hello.
Murthy sir, yes sir.
Okay. So a class
The screen is not visible, sir.
contains two things. The screen. Oh.
Sir, your screen is not visible.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, sir.
Yeah, sir, it's coming. Just wait, sir. Yes, sir. Continue.
Yes. Class, as I already told you, a class contains majorly things, variables, as well as method definitions. A process of encapsulating, wrapping up the class. Your variables or methods are not, they are not separately representing. Whatever you want to represent, you must represent inside a class definition only. That is the meaning. Okay. So anyhow, a class contains variable declarations and method definitions. Okay. Instance variables are nothing but variables declared inside a class are nothing but instance variables. Instance variables. So you have length and width. Where I have declared, I have declared separately. I remove this. I have declared two variables, length and width, inside a class. So whatever the variables I declared inside a class, those variables are called instance variables. Instance variables means the instance variables belongs to class. They are not specific to any particular entity in the class. Okay, any particular method or any particular object. Instance variables can be used. Okay, for example, if you have a method XYZ method, you have XYZ method, for example. This XYZ method contains a variable tr. Local variable. You must know that tr is a local variable. Its length and width are instance variables. Instance variables can be used anywhere. Can I use length and width in XYZ? Yes, you can use this length and width here. For example, if I write tr equal to tr into length into width. Length into width. I have not defined whole class, whole instance, any number of objects. So each instance is separate. Each instance can contain its own value. So that is the meaning. So an object which is an instance of a class contains its own values for that representation. So that is why they are called instance variables. Instance variables are different from the local variables. Instance variables are the class variables. They have PR. For example, if I have another method, RRR, here I can use length and width. I can use either length or width. I can use both length and width because anywhere I can use in the throughout the class. But here I can't use this TR because TR is specific to XYZ and TR is unknown to this void RRR because I have not declared it. If I want the same variable again, I have to redeclare as int TR. That is the difference between local variable and instance method in which they have declared. Okay, instance variable is not particular to any particular method of a class because instance variables are declared inside the class definition. Those are the class variables. So those are available to all the class utilities. Anywhere I can use the instance variable any number of times. Okay, remember. Variables. Methods means methods represent behavior as they all variable attributes, anything variables. Instance variables.
Murthy sir, I guess your voice is breaking more. Murthy sir?
Sir, am I audible?
Yeah, sir. Till now you are in mute for the last 2 minutes.
Oh, sir.
Okay, okay. Continue, sir.
Yes, sir.
Students are posting
Am
some
I audible, sir? Yes.
also. Just, look at the chat also. Meanwhile,
So this is a class. Yes, sir.
yeah. Chat is available at the top, sir. At the top, and more, there is something called chat in the first option, right side.
Right, sir. More. Yes, sir. For the questions purpose.
Murthy sir?
Okay. So, sir,
Yes, sir. Continue, continue. There is some issue, sir, from your side. Yes. Screen is not seeing now.
hello.
Yes, sir. It's visible. Hello? Hello? Sir, it's not audible, sir. It's some mic issue from your side.
Hello.
Sir? Sir, ఏమవుతుంది? Yeah, dear students, there is some issue from sir's side. Okay. Let's run the poll for today's. Okay. Murthy sir, I am launching the poll now. Murthy sir, Please unmute yourself. So herewith I am launching the poll, students. Okay. Is it visible? The poll is visible. So 5 minutes for you to submit. Meanwhile, sir is reconnecting now, so that he will be discussing with the answers. He's having some issue from his internet.
Yes. Okay. Okay, Amma. So first question is, what is the default value of an instance variable? So if you just declare a variable, you don't initialize the value.
Your voice is low, sir.
Default value. My voice is low, sir.
Yeah. Now it is fine.
Okay, sir. If you declare a variable in Java, but you have not defined it, means you have not initialized with any value, the default value is 0. Okay, 0 is the correct answer, not garbage value or 1 or -1. Second one, what will happen if you try to execute the code? I think in Java, as I mentioned earlier, the default floating point value is double, not float. But if you want to represent, for example, if you want to represent a double variable, for example, double x equal to some 7.5, okay, so some 7.5, then it is okay. But for floating point variables, you must use a suffix f, 9.8 f. You should not use 9.8. If you write like that, compile time error will be generated. And for booleans also, 0 or 1 for representing true or false. But in Java, there is a specific data type, boolean, where you can represent either true or false. You should not write 1 or 0. Okay, that's why it is giving a compile time error. Okay, the third one. Third one is, what is the output of the below Java code snippet? Sir, that is char ch equal to a. Yes, ASCII value is 65. 65. So now I am taking an integer variable a, ch plus 1. Ch plus 1 means not 66, sir. It is again converted into character. The a integer is converted into character. So that is why that 66, the ASCII value of B is 66. So answer is B. Okay, answer is B. Next question number 4. Which keyword is used to distinguish an instance variable and a local variable? Actually, I have to explain this concept, but the answer is because that is defined in a class definition that is available to any of the member inside the class. So, okay, there is no global local variables are declared inside the methods which are specific to the method definition. So if a variable is declared in
Sir, your voice is breaking, sir. Okay, I guess sir disconnected. Okay. Disconnecting, just be online.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir, continue.
Yes, sir. So fourth question, I think everybody listen. Fifth
Somebody is
question,
asking,
that
please
is,
repeat the fourth one, sir.
when the field of fourth question. Fourth question is instance variable and local variable. If you want to distinguish a local variable and instance variable, we must use this keyword. This keyword. This always holds the current object's reference. So this keyword we have to use to distinguish both the So last question. When the field of a class are common to all the objects, then which keyword we have to use? That is static. As I already told you, but again a concept I have to explain. All the objects, irrespective, the static members are in general created. So static keyword we use if you want to make a variable or a member means can be a variable or can be a method. If you want to make it common to all the objects irrespective of a specific object, so we use the keyword those members. We need not, these are the definitions, these are the answers. So fifth question answer is static. Fourth question answer is this keyword, not static. This, if you have instance variable and local variable, you use this keyword to separate, to separately representing. In the next class, definitely you will be known all these things very, very clearly. Thank you.
Students, do you have any doubts? Please post in the chat.
Sir, Girish, sir.
Sir, I'm asking if you have any doubts, please post in the chat, students. Fine, sir. We can end the session, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, students. Thank you.